Hi guys. We're going to talk about the Ezra case today. Just a little bit more about the person, the statements that she made. But there's just a few things that, when you listen to it and you listen to her words and her story, we know that she has been found guilty of first-degree murder. But I'm just going back when she said she was in the car and she was sorting some stuff out, and Alex was just sitting around, standing around, doing whatever he was doing, and she had two paintings in the car. One went underneath the seat somewhere, and the other one, she said she put in the front seat, the passenger side. Well, from there on, she never said she put the paintings anywhere else. Now, what happened to the paintings? What state were they in when the detectives got a hold of them? Now, remember, Ezra said she was fighting for her life. She was on the back seat. She was in the front seat. She was in the driver's seat. She was between the passenger and driver's seat. Her legs were going here. Her legs were going there. Her legs were stuck in the well. You name it. She was fighting for her life. Now, what happened to the painting? Did it get any blood on it? Did it get broken? What happened to it? That's just what I want to bring up. No, there wasn't this big fight in the car. There wasn't this big fight in the car. I guess Alex may have been trying to get to the car. Now, there's a photo of him that I put up of him hanging out the car. Now, he has her scarf around his neck. Now, we don't know how it got there. We just don't know how it got there. Now, if a person is fighting for their life and they're this and that and they're outside, they're inside the car, they're outside the car, I'm sure that the scarf would have fallen off. So I just feel like it was used for a blindfold. Yeah, I'm thinking they were playing games, she was playing a game, and she blindfolded him. And remember, she said she was sorting out the car and looking for something to put down on the mud, but she wasn't going to use her tent. But she took this blanket out, and she put the blanket down by the driver's seat, somewhere like that, on the ground. Yeah? So what does she do that for? What the hell is a blanket gonna do? You see, if you're stuck in mud or anything like that, maybe you should keep some cat litter in the back of your trunk and stuff like that to help you get some grip. And maybe you shouldn't have been there at all on private property. But as time goes on, some of her other statements that she made when she left Alex's home, they asked her a few, she drove off. One time she said she only drove down the block or two or three and the stop sign, and she started getting very, very anxious and very scared and whatever else words she used. But she didn't stop, and she didn't turn around, and she didn't kick Alex out. Then the next minute she's saying that she don't even remember where they were going, where she went. She just don't know where she went because she can't remember. But she was asked about the conversation between her and Alex, and she goes on about the conversation. What was it about? Oh, we were talking about our relationship ending. We were talking about Jason. We were talking about this and that. And he was telling me, about the relationship. Or he was probably saying, she was probably saying to him, complaining about the relationship. And he was probably answering her. And he probably knew she was confused, whatever the situation is. But he obviously went with her for some reason, because she probably said that she needs his help. She don't know what to do. Playing mind games again. And then they asked her about other stuff that she may have in the car to use to get herself out of the mud. And she goes, they said, "What were you looking for in that car? What was you looking for?" She goes, "Well, I thought that I would find a brick. I find a brick." A brick? She was hoping to find a brick in her car. Who carries a brick with them? Well, I don't know. And she was saying, "Well, I thought I might just find a plank of wood in there too." Oh yeah, a plank of wood and a brick. And she has plenty of knives in that car. She did say that she didn't know that she had them in the car, but they could have been there from moving. Now, a knife from Jason, she had a steak knife, and she had other knives in that car at one point or another, but she doesn't remember them being in the car. No, she doesn't remember. And Jason used to get on her nerves because he used to accuse her of stuff, right? One is lies, and more lies, stop the lying. And I think she was a bit of a thief. Now, a bit of a thief. Okay, what about the Sharpie? Now she made such a big deal about the Sharpie. She said Jason lost it on her for moving his Sharpie and doing it deliberately. Moved and hid his Sharpie. How dare she do that? You sent him off balance. And he would yell at her, call her names, belittle her. But what was she doing? You see, toxic people don't take the blame for their own faults. No, they don't. They won't blame themselves because they feel that they're not the ones doing anything wrong, because they are always right and you are always wrong. Your behaviors, anything you do and say will be used against you. That's how she is. And this is how she ended up in a trial for first-degree murder, intentional murder, and which she has been found guilty of. She also talks about going for this drive, and she keeps repeating herself that she doesn't know where she's going, or she doesn't remember nothing. But she remembers the gate was open to this driveway that Alex drove into. The gate was open, and she thought, this looks like a good place to get out and look at the nature and have a chat. Yeah, that's another thing she remembers, but she don't remember nothing. She was asked to describe her surroundings. Now she remembers getting stuck in the mud once. She remembers exactly what she tried to do to get the car out of the mud, and then they go up a little way and they get stuck in the mud again. She remembers all this. She remembers it all. And then she remembers going onto the grass and then eventually getting stuck in the mud again. But she only stopped to look at the nature only for a moment. Only for a moment. Now she got stuck in the mud, but she doesn't remember where she is. Now if she only went a little way, then you were still in the same area. It's not like you went, another 10 minutes drive away. You are in the same area. Well, that's what it sounds like to me. But she's making it sound like she's, far away from the first time they got stuck in the mud. But anyway, when you just listen to her tell her story, which was rehearsed, very much rehearsed. They had grilled her and prepped her and everything because she knew what questions were going to be asked of her, because she was ready. She was ready before they even asked the next question. She was kind of starting her lawyer's conversation, answers, questions before they were given, type of thing. Maybe she should have been her own lawyer, asked her own questions and answered them. But as she was on the stand, people say she was a good witness. Well, she was a good witness in the fact that she had self-control, because she suffers from PTSD and anxiousness, and she gets scared and she gets anxious and all those kind of things. But when she was on the stand, not one bit of anxiousness, scared. Her voice wasn't trembling. She wasn't nervous to be on the stand. There was none of that. None. She was a bit cocky and all this. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. You're welcome this. You're welcome that. And helping the defense out, helping the state out, trying to be nice. And they said she's soft-spoken. But what about her cuts? Her cuts on her body. Now, for somebody that's fighting for their life, they're bouncing all around the car. Her arms are going this way, her arms are going that way. His arms are grabbing her, pulling her hair. This is what she said. It's her words. And he pulled my hair. And I had hair in the back of the car, on the floor. Yeah, really? Well, if somebody's going to pull your hair to save their life, yeah, we expect there to be hair in the car. But not much was there. There wasn't much. And if somebody's stabbing you up and down and you're raising your hand and you're stabbing somebody, where's the blood splatter? On the roof. Blood splatter on the window. Blood splatter. There's not really a lot of that. Well, maybe there doesn't have to be. But there also is not that much blood in the car for Alex to been stabbed 15 times, because one stab wound was outside. So all those stab wounds, there was more blood outside than there was in the car. Now, they said you don't really have to bleed that much. I mean, I don't understand the bleeding part actually, but where he was stabbed, you think that he, would be bleeding a lot. And if he's moving around, then the blood flow you'd bleed more. You're supposed to stay still when you're bleeding and keep calm and lay down and put your feet up or something, so your body don't go into shock. But he's not thinking of those kind of things. He's running away. He just didn't know what to do because he was stabbed from behind. The attack frenzy, rage, went into effect, and she just started stabbing here, there, and everywhere, which she said she did. And that's exactly what happened. Yep, that is true. Because it wasn't Alex's fault. He was being stabbed. Now, she had a little mark on her hand, which she said she got when she got hold of the knife. So that's self-inflicted. She has knife marks on her arm, self-inflicted. Now, where's the other marks? Oh, he ripped my clothes off. Well, he didn't rip your clothes off. You cut them. They were cut. And they were cut one-sided only. I couldn't understand that, why if you're in a frenzy, you're doing that, you just be cutting. I don't know how perfect it could have been. And she also said that she can't remember nothing, but she also said the head wound came first. And then we all know about that this knife went in and it took some force for you to get through the brain. Now, you have had to raise your hand and took your hands down and probably had the knife in both hands and rammed it into his head. Now, that couldn't have happened in the car if you were laying on your back and Alex was straddling you. You could never have made that knife wound that way. And you said it was the first one. So there is your mistake. Another one. Another lie. If that's how the story went, there's just no way that could have happened that way. So you both must have been sitting up and doing whatever. So he sat up, so he'd been facing, it'd be on the driver's side of the back, and you'd be on the he'd be on the passenger's side sitting at the back, and you'd be behind the driver's seat, or the opposite way. It doesn't matter, because I don't know which way you were laying, your head this way or your head that way, but it looks like it's the driver's side doors that were open. So, and Alex's head is hanging over on the back seat outside the door. Now, if he came in to the car, how did he end up in that position? You mean to say normally people get in head first? You mean he got in the car feet first? Well, that don't make sense neither. That don't make no sense neither. To get in a car that way and end up in that position, it doesn't make sense why he would end up like that. Well, not to me. Not to me. When a man has been stabbed 16 times, who knows if he had a little brain damage from that knife wound to the skull. And then, while he lay dying or standing, because she said he's standing, walking around still, do you know what I mean? Talking, with his neck slit 3 times, a stab wound to the brain, his genitals sac pierced, stabbed. He's in a lot of pain. His lungs are pierced. His lungs, front and back. He can't breathe. So he's talking. And then he asked her to help him pee. Can you believe that, guys? Now that was a bit much, wasn't it? You know, she wants us to believe a story, but he's not worried about his wounds. He just wants to go to pee. Yeah, I'll be thinking of that too, right? I'll be thinking about the pain I'm in, but don't worry about it. I just gotta go pee. And then I'll worry about the pain after I've been to pee. Oh yeah. And then he asked her, they were talking, and she said that he said, I've waited for this all of my life. I've waited for this all of my life. What, to die? To be stabbed to death? He's been waiting for that all his life? Are you crazy? No. He may have said, I've been waiting for this all my life, but not while he had been stabbed. It might have been in a conversation. And you're just putting it in the mix. But I doubt if that was his dying words, right? And his dying words were, he probably wasn't talking. They never did say if the man could talk after his throat had been slit and he'd been stabbed in the head, in the brain, and his genitals torn apart and his lungs. They never did say if he could speak. They did say he could have been walking. He could have been walking. No. The way his body was in the car. Now, he was stabbed outside the car. There was blood. But you know what? She didn't have hardly no blood on her. She didn't have that much blood on her. And the shirt, she said he cut up first. You know, took her glasses off and then cut her shirt up. And then afterwards, she said she pulled the sleeve down. And, well, she pulled the sleeve down from her flannel shirt, because it had a little hole in it, and they said that was probably from the knife or something, or the attack or something, that she probably got the a knife mark from that. But she keeps on about all these clothes that she had on, layers of clothes. She had layers of clothes on. We don't know. If you ask me, we don't know what she really had on. Only the ones that maybe have some blood on it or mud on it. But then they talked about his clothes, and they showed us his coat he was wearing, the coat that he was wearing outside his home before he got in the car. And they said there's only 3 knife wounds in that coat. 3. Now, if the fight started outside the attack, because remember she said he was going to take advantage of her and do as he will, and she feared for her life, that she's right-handed. They talked about her being right-handed, and the wounds were on the left side. It didn't happen like that, like she said it was happening. But anyway, he only had 3 knife wounds in his coat for having such an attack, but he should have more. She also says that he takes his coat off and the shoes come flying off. I guess he got no shoes on, she's got no shoes on. They mention the part where she said she only had one shoe on and one shoe off, but she remembers that. That's a big detail, isn't it, about the shoe? And then instead of putting the other shoe back on, she takes the other shoe off. Well, I don't know what that's supposed to do for or anybody, because wouldn't you want your shoes on and you'd put the other shoe on, the other boot on? Yeah, logic, but I don't know. I don't know what happened. That they say that she was hurting. She was in a lot of pain. Yeah, that's true. She was in a lot of pain from killing a guy, stabbing him 16 times, putting his body. They said there's no drag marks outside, so she could not have dragged the body. That's right. That's right. That's right. It's probably she got him from behind. Yes, she did. Because she blindfolded him. We're never going to know the whole story, what happened there, how he got in the car, why was he outside. You know, the attack happened outside the car. There is blood, there's dripping blood, but we don't know where the dripping of the blood's coming. He probably went to the car to sit down a minute or do something. But there's not a lot of blood in the car, but there's not a lot of blood outside neither. But that could have sinked through into the mud, into the wet, or a lot of the blood could have sinked into her back seat in the car, you know, the seat. It could be a lot of blood soaked in to it because, you know, he wasn't found till the 24th, and this happened on the 22nd. So, and it's a cold nights in winter. It probably froze. It wasn't like the middle of summer. So, you know, but it's just weird that she can sit there and recite word for word what happened in the fight. When she's scared, she's panicking. Her brain is going this way, her brain's going that way, but she can remember it all. Ezra. Then I woke up, and he kept trying to attack me, and I didn't know what to do. Remember, guys, she said in one of her statements, I don't know when, because it's all like confusing and all mixed up, but she took a nap. Well, she passed out, and she went into the fog, into the darkness, and she woke up, and then she had to attack him again. And remember, guys, she fell back to sleep and woke up again. Remember that? It's just one more lie. And I kept stabbing to defend myself. It got dark and everything. Yeah, that was another lie. And another lie. I cut my hand. I kept trying to grab him. Yeah, there's another lie. And another big fat lie was the last words Alex spoke. Oh yeah, she had to put this one in. But I find it very hard that he would have said these words at the time she said so. I have waited for this all my life. Really? He said that? That was his last words? That's the only words you could come up with? And there's others that she was talking about that, you know, like trying to kill her or something, that he wouldn't have to be alone. You know, some rubbish like that. You know, trash talking. I mean, you could have said something more emotional than that. And plus, guys, we know on the stand that she was not one bit remorseful. It was all coerced. It was, she had practiced this. She was reciting word for word just about what she said in that interview. Now, it's not from memory. It's from listening to the tapes over and over and over, and listening to her lawyers rehearse her for her day in court. And he asked me to help him. Well, I don't know. Maybe he was asking for help. But asking help to go to the bathroom, to go have a pee. Yes, that was one of his last thoughts in his brain, was he has to go to the bathroom. Well, don't forget, guys, he was stabbed in his testicles, in his sack. Yeah. But really, these are some of the words that she had spoken and has got her convicted of first-degree murder. We also listened to her say, you know, about the driveway. She didn't know where she was going. She didn't know where she was going. No. But as they went to the driveway, I thought Alex was driving. But you know what? Like I said, there is no proof that Alex was ever driving. She was last seen driving. She was even seen by this guy, I don't know what his name was, Dave, I think, that they were stopped, and he see these two. Yeah. So, there you go. Because when she said that Alex was driving, it wasn't very long that they had left his home. And by the time she got down the drive from Alex's home, by the time she went down the road a few blocks, she was already in a panic. Remember? She had already was in a panic. Well, she didn't sound like she was in a panic when she was outside Alex's home and the cops were there and she had a chance to change her mind. She wasn't in a panic. She also said she was not scared. She was not scared whatsoever. So, her words. Alex was in the passenger side. I moved the car into the grass, but got stuck in the mud. But she can't remember nothing. But with all the details she gave in the courtroom, she only has forgotten some of the details, and which we can't believe hardly anything she says. They're half-truths. They may have happened, but not in the order she states they happened. That's my opinion. But she's only left a few details out. That is her locations along the way, and, you know, not knowing where she's going but she knows where Owens Park is. But driving to the middle of nowhere in a panic, anxious, everything like that. But they don't stop until they're in the middle of the farmland. And that is because it was in the middle of nowhere, around farmland, in the country, in rural area, in the snow, in the wet, in the mud, where nobody could hear nothing. Like, along the way they stopped. She said they stopped and they thought they could enjoy the nature. And that's what she states. So we're not sure where they were going to enjoy the nature. Where were they at this time? Well, she has been around the area for quite a while, so she's been to many walks around the parks and stuff like that. So she does know where she was and what her plan was. She had a cut to the hand, which she says happened when she was trying to get the knife away. But I don't know if that's not true, because they look self-inflicted to me, but it could have been happening when she was stabbing him in such force that these blades went, it was like a 3.5-inch blade. Some of these wounds went in all the way and halfway in, and one to his skull, and the one to his head wound. Remember, guys, she can't remember a thing, but she remembers every detail about the stabbing. Well, that's probably one thing that you may forget, in which order they came in, if you ask me. People are thinking about that one, thinking, well, I might not quite remember because I was scared out of my wits and I thought he was going to kill me, and so you just started stabbing here, there, everywhere, anywhere. So how could you remember which order they came in? I just don't get it. I'm confused about that one. But she said that the head wound came first. That's the one that went into the back of his skull. And this is where I think she got him from behind. I don't know how it came first otherwise, because she was laying on the back and he was facing her with his head facing the other way. So, but she stabbed him with such force that it went through his skull at the back of his head. Now, you could only do that if you were, say your hands are up in the air and you go and throw have both your hands on the knife and wham, from she's reached up and then she's gone down with her hands with such force. I don't know how that one came first. That's what I'm saying. And remember, she also said his last words were, "I've waited all my life for this." I don't think he said that at all. He may have said it at one time or another, because apparently he liked her, or he loved her at one time. And remember that she met Alex the same time she met Jason in Races in that coffee shop. Alex was sitting there minding his own goddamn business with his head in the book. And she walks over to him. Like, who does that? But anyway, she does that. And goes over to him and asks, what you reading? And that's how that began. And that's how she says that. Now, that one might be true. That one might be true because she met Jason there too, and they'd only known each other for a couple of weeks, and she moved in with Jason. And not only moved in the home, she moved into his bed. And where was Alex then? Where was Alex? We don't know what kind of relationship they were having at the same time, but she moved in with Jason. So Alex must have known that she moved in with Jason, and it wasn't roommates. She had read Alex's journals. We know that. Now, she read them whether with permission or not with permission, but she read his journals because she wanted to get into the mind of Alex, and she was playing him. We all know that in the courts that she used some of his words in some of his journals and said, yeah, that was about me. He wrote about me. Well, he may have wrote about you because you're a psycho, a toxic person, a toxic personality that only thinks about yourself and don't care about anybody else. But you'll go along with it. You'll go and you'll make your conversation, but it's only to serve you. It's only to serve Ezra. Now, she just playing mind games. You told people you didn't love him. You didn't love him, but he loved you. But Alex also said that he was over you. Or, even if he said, this conversation they had, I don't really truly know what it was about, but he could have been saying, why are you with Jason? I care about you. Whatever you were saying. But he doesn't want to be the second fiddle. He wanted a relationship. Well, he did at one time, but I don't know if he wanted it this time. But he was with her for a reason. He was with her. But remember, he may have been trying to help her. He may have been trying to help her. Because, when Jason went into the home that day and went up the stairs to the bedroom, she said, Jason's here, he can help you. She said that again. Now, why does Alex need help? I think he was doing pretty good without you. Pretty good without you. For that month you were gone. He left you alone like you asked. And then you come up with, he's stalking you on Facebook because he looked your name up. Listen, you've known each other for 1.5 years. He knows you're on Facebook. He's on Facebook. They're all on Facebook. I don't know why he looked up your name for when he would have known. Why wasn't he ever friends with you on Facebook? Or maybe he didn't want to be friends with you on Facebook. Maybe because he didn't want you being his friend on Facebook. I don't know. But there's lots of people that look people up on Facebook to find friends and lost ones. That's what Facebook's about as well. It's not just about, going on there and sharing your pictures. And there's lots of different reasons why people have a Facebook account. They play games, or they talk to the family. They send messages to their friends. They let people know what they're doing, where they're going, where they've been. You know, there's lots of reasons why you're on Facebook. That doesn't mean shit to me. But you tried to turn it like he was stalking you. That one time. And that one time that he did that is because he did it for a reason. He'd had a message or a phone call, and that's when he did it. There was a reason why he did it. Because he may have been in fear for his life too. He wanted to know. Maybe he wanted to know. Because he never called you. He never called you and contacted you. And there's just another thing she said. I don't know, she's so confusing. She had a conversation while they were driving. Remember, she said she remembers the whole conversation along the way. She don't remember where she's going, where she's been, where she ended up, her location, but she remembers the conversation while they were driving. But she said she wasn't paying attention where she was going because she was so involved in the conversation. And the conversation was about feelings. Feelings of what we had. And our relationship was ending. Yeah, that's what she said. The relationship, what we had, and our relationship is ending. And it did. It ended that day. Alex died that day. Stabbed 16 times. And left for dead. In the middle of nowhere. In a field. All alone. In the cold. For a day and a half. Toxic people. You know, there's drama, lies, and liars. People out to ruin you if they don't get what they want. And this is one example of relationships gone wrong by somebody that thought they could play games with people's lives. And it was a game because she was the number one ringleader. And it seems like all three of them were toxic. Because she is very toxic. And if you stay with somebody that is like that, you become hateful. And you begin to react the same way as the toxic person, which is Ezra. She plays a big role in this relationship, these relationships. And it was a pattern. And we know so. The proof is there. And if we were to go back in her past relationships, if she had any, like we've liked to have known Alex's past relationships. I mean, there were some friends, but I mean, relationships. Or more people from school. And her relationship And we've got to know some of what her teenage life was like, because she said it herself. She was abused. Well, she felt like she was abused. You know, her abuse and somebody else's abuse might be a little bit different. But her abuse was, you know, she was probably told that she had to do this and do that, and she never did it. She was told time after time. She may have got in trouble a few times for whatever reason, and, you know, she would get upset and play these games, and she got told to be quiet and stop crying, and she would go into a room and she'd start cutting, but this was for reasons, I don't know what reasons she was doing it. She never really did say exactly what was going on, but I'm sure something was going on, but it might not have been everybody's fault. She could have been an out-of-control teenager. But not to say that something was going on, because I don't know. But she started cutting herself. But we don't really know how bad she was, because I haven't seen no scars, and no medical, doctor's medical notes came into this about her past behavior. No, none of that came in. Because, you know, the state would have a field day if they brought that in, but the state didn't bring it in neither. And there's lots of other evidence that was not allowed in. So, like one, Hanson's relationship, John was not, well, the defense said they should have brought him in. But, you know, the state's not going to bring him in because he was not a good witness. But I think in a way he would have been, but in another way, no. Because he was not convicted of any crime. He was accused of it, but she made this up because she gave consent. She was in a consenting relationship, and she went there of her own free will. She's going to use, I got me drunk. No, you drank it. Not the first time, but she went back there a second time. So, she wasn't scared of him neither, but she more or less said the same things. And then, you know what she said about her dad, and this, it must be her stepdad we're talking about. He abused her, he put her down, he degraded her, and this is why she said Jason reminded her of her dad, because he did the same thing. See, she blames everybody but herself. She blamed Jason, she blamed her dad, she blamed I don't know where her mother is around in this, because she didn't really say anything about her mother. All she said was her mother kicked her out because she wouldn't follow rules, and that she didn't want her to be with Jason. Was it because he was abusing her? So she says 1 minute she hates him, 1 minute she loves him, 1 minute she don't want to be with him, next minute she wants to be with him. Yeah. And the age gap, because Jason was probably nearly the same age as her mom and dad. Not much difference, but immature. Jason's like a young kid, you know, a teenager himself, a teeny bopper, because he likes to hang out with teenagers. Not really teenagers, he hangs out with college kids, and hang around a coffee shop full of college kids. Now, I'm not saying there's older people that go to college, because there is, but it sounds like at this coffee shop they were more or less straight out of school into college, having a fun time, being away from home, going to college, and hanging out like college people do. And Jason never grew up, and he hung out with them too. And now she said he was abusive to her, and her abuse goes like this. Oh, he told me to stop moving my stuff. He accused me once of taking his Sharpie and hiding it. Sorry, I have to laugh at that one because I'm like, Jason got mad because she took his Sharpie and hid it on purpose. Yes, guys. On purpose. And she would move his stuff around and Jason couldn't find it. Yeah. She'd move his, and he got abusive. He was mean to me. He'd yell at me because, he's accusing me of moving his stuff. Well, you probably did move it. You probably did because I think you were a thief as well. Alleged thief. But I think you stole. That's just my opinion. She steals. Yeah, she does. She has, and she's done it. She even steal your own words out of your own mouth and use it against you. That's how she is. She's toxic. Toxic. Toxic is abusive, unhealthy, it's emotional, it brings you down, feeling dependent on them for their opinion, doubting your own worth. This is not in any particular order, but these signs are right here of a toxic person. Control by guilt tripping. They're easily jealous. Remember Jason spoke about she'd throw a fit and stop him going to see his friends at the coffee shop or hanging out with his friends. Yeah, she started pulling him in and isolating him. Otherwise she'd cry and throw a tantrum and stuff like that. They cannot take a no. They cannot take a no. And they always see their self as the victim. Always see their self as the victim. Yep, we've seen a lot of that. They have no respect for boundaries. No respect for boundaries. Oh my God. And it's not the whole person that is toxic. The whole person itself, it's their behavior is toxic. The behavior. The person is deeply wounded for whatever reason, can't take responsibility for their wrongdoing, feelings, needs, problems in their life. And they try to get their needs met in an unhealthy way. They create drama all about them, very needy all the time. And reactions is both or all parties who play in this role. See, Alex may have seen this well, I hope he did see this, because, you know, he's in this relationship which is toxic, and he's seen the bad behavior that she has, how she reacts to things in her anxious, emotional, less way. Interactions, unconscious story, her judgment, the fear, and the blame on the other person. You see, these are some signs when you're in a toxic relationship. And she has had all these signs that we've seen in the trial, and how she has reacted to things. And it's just not one person saying it. You see, it's not the odd person here. It was a pattern. It's not like her mother came onto the stand to tell us about her life and what happened to her when she was a teenager. No, nobody brought that up. Nobody brought that into the courtroom. But we know that she was a very needy person. And maybe Alex was drawn to her because that's what he does. He tries to help people. He tries to get in your head. He tries to explain it to you and give you advice. And he was willing to sit there and listen to you cry and whine and cheat and lie when you didn't even need to lie. And you probably took those things from him, that bookmark and that heating pad. You probably took it from him. He probably didn't even know it was missing. Now, this may be a statement that he may have quoted to Ezra at one time or another. The reason why I'm sharing my feelings and needs with you is because I love you. I want to build a healthy relationship with you. Focus on taking care of yourself. Protect yourself from unhealthy behaviors. You have to move on in life. If you don't, it won't change. They don't change. See, he could have quoted a little bit of that I just read. But a toxic person is just very unhealthy, and you become like them. You get down and you start getting unhealthy to be around other people, and your behavior starts changing because it draws you in. It draws you in. But they don't change. You have to move on.
Mr. McCandless, please rise. We, the jury, find the defendant, Ezra J. McCandless, guilty of first-degree intentional homicide as charged in the information. And the answer to the special verdict question is yes, use the dangerous weapon. And you may be seated. All right, ladies and gentlemen, is this your verdict? All right, I'm going to do what's called polling the jury, and I'm going to ask each of you if this is your verdict. And I'm going to ask you by your juror number. Mr. McCandless, please rise. We, the jury, find the defendant, Ezra J. McCandless, guilty of first-degree intentional homicide as charged in the information. And the answer to the special verdict question is yes, use the dangerous weapon, and you may be seated. All right, ladies and gentlemen, is this your verdict? All right, I'm going to do what's called polling the jury, and I'm going to ask each of you if this is your verdict. And I'm going to ask you by your juror number